The Sinister Nurse. Deep within Mexico City loomed the imposing General Hospital, a classically styled structure shrouded in an aura of mystery and darkness. Its weathered walls, stained by time, seemed to conceal forbidden secrets that only the bold dared explore. Within this sinister place, Nurse Daniela Mendoza, a woman of enigmatic beauty, hid her true nature behind a cold smile and piercing eyes. Her gaze, heavy with malice, had been corrupted by dark forces that had possessed her on a moonlit night. Daniela wore a blood-stained white uniform and a stethoscope that resonated with unearthly echoes. Her silent footsteps filled the hospital halls with a disquieting presence. Unknowingly, the patients and staff were ensnared in the web of her malevolent influence. As the sun sank behind the skyscrapers of the city, General Hospital transformed into a realm of nightmares. The corridors swelled with anguished laments and distorted shadows that slipped along the walls, fading at every corner. The confined patients experienced unimaginable night terrors, with dark whispers invading their dreams as an inexplicable chill overcame their bodies. Flickering lights and distorted monitor sounds created an oppressive atmosphere that seemed to suffocate all hope. The hospital staff, sunk in confusion and fear, began noticing changes in Nurse Daniela. Her gaze grew more intense, her movements more stealthy, and her smile more diabolical. Some claimed her eyes blazed with an infernal fire, while others swore they had seen dark shadows circling her in the grimmest midnight hours. Young Dr. Alejandra Sanchez arrived at General Hospital hoping to make a difference. He was a man of kind heart, but his innocence would quickly be contaminated by the spreading influence of evil. One night, while making his rounds, he encountered Daniela in a solitary corridor. Their eyes met in an instant, and a chill raced down the doctor's spine. Daniela approached silently, her voice whispering with malignant seduction. "Alejandro, I can give you everything you desire. I can show you the power hidden in shadows. You only need to make a pact with me." Intrigued and captivated by forbidden promises, Alejandro gave in to temptation. He sealed a grimoire pact with Daniela that would change his life and the hospital forever. General Hospital sank into an indescribable reign of terror. Daniela and Alejandro, now allied in darkness, unleashed their malice upon the innocent. The corridors became torture stages, with patients used as puppets to satisfy their insatiable thirst for pain. Possessed Nurse Daniela transformed into a horrifying figure, her skin paling further, and her eyes and smile warping into diabolic expressions. Her presence provoked shivers, and those who witnessed her knew an abysmal evil force stood before them. Alejandro, consumed by shadows, became a ruthless surgeon. His once skillful hands, once dedicated to good, were now instruments of suffering, performing unnecessary operations and experiments on patients to feed his craving for forbidden knowledge and ruthless power. As the terror reigned, the hospital transformed into a place of hopelessness. The tormented souls of those lost to Daniela and Alejandro joined in a chorus of wails and moans, filling the passages with their eternal grief. But amidst the darkness, a glimmer of hope faintly shone. A young nurse named Maria arrived at the hospital for her first night shift. She immediately sensed a sinister presence. As the night wore on, Maria experienced supernatural phenomena shadows, flickering at the edges of her vision, and whispered voices. In her dreams, she saw the dead patients of the hospital, all emaciated and wounded. They begged her for help. One night, she bore witness to Daniela and Alejandro's horrors, and determined to aid the suffering patients. Maria investigated the library's darkest corners and uncovered records of ancient purification rituals. With fear but resolve, Maria studied the ceremonies and sacred words that could weaken demonic influence and free the hospital from its terrifying reign. The night of St. John of God arrived, and General Hospital seemed sunk in sepulchral silence. Maria ventured into the deserted corridors, her heart pounding in her chest. She confronted Daniela and Alejandro face to face in an abandoned operating room, where the echoes of their malice clung to the walls. The air crackled with electricity as shadows writhed and danced around them. Maria began reciting prayers, invoking divine powers to fight the demonic forces. The sinister nurse and evil surgeon writhed in pain as sacred light enveloped them. However, in a final desperate act, Daniela and Alejandro joined forces and launched a dark counterattack. The room shook and filled with black smoke as Maria was thrown to the ground with an anguished scream. Maria opened her eyes. She found herself in a distorted world. The hospital had warped into a twisted labyrinth of endless passages, crowded with lurking shadows and agonized wails. Daniela and Alejandro had survived, now reigning with an even darker power. Maria realized her attempt to free the hospital had failed. The evil persisted, stronger than ever, and she had become a prisoner of her own bravery. As days turned to weeks and weeks to months, Maria desperately tried to find an exit. But the hospital seemed to have become a living entity, shifting at will to keep her trapped in its sinister embrace forever. Though Maria fought against her fate, she slowly realized the stain of malice could never be cleansed from the hospital's core. The tormented souls and dark whispers had become inherent to its very being. The building had been corrupted to its foundations, snaring all who entered in an eternal nightmare. Patients, staff, and visitors became mere puppets for the diabolical nurse, doomed to suffer until the end of time. Agonized screams and cries of despair mingled with Daniela and Alejandro's macabre laughter, creating an infernal symphony that echoed through every passageway. As time passed, General Hospital drew those seeking the occult and macabre like moths to flame. Brave explorers ventured into its shadowy corridors, lured by whispers of terror within its walls. Yet none ever returned. Bodies vanished without a trace. Souls added to the damnation of those tormented for all eternity. Tales spread of General Hospital and the evil that could never be exorcised from its ruined halls, no matter the attempts of paranormal investigators. The curse only grew in strength, fed by those who dared face its wickedness. To this day, the hospital stands, a looming specter at the heart of the city. Moans and unearthly whispers still drift from open doors, and those who enter face an uncertain fate too ghastly to imagine. The darkness remains, and always will, as an inescapable prison for the souls of the damned.